Hey, what's up? I'm Ian Su, and I'm here in my studio in Queens, New York, and I am here to talk about one of my songs from my new record, Imposter Syndrome, which is out now. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's out everywhere that you consume music and stream music. I want to talk about the title track, which is Imposter Syndrome. It's one of my favorites on the record, and I wrote it at the very end of making the album. I really thought it was done, and I was just sitting in my room. I was feeling a little bit sick, actually, and I was just playing on my piano, and I came up with this. You know, and I think the turning point was really when I went. It just felt so fresh. It was kind of theater, it was kind of Broadway. I knew already from the moment I played those chords exactly how I wanted the song to pan out. So from then on, it was just a game of following my instinct. Here we have the Logic session. This is not a lot of stuff. It's mainly if you take a look at all the stuff that's here, all the stuff that you would normally hear and see in a live setting, in what you would hear if you come to one of my shows. I played around with a lot of different plugins for my other songs in the album, but this one, a lot of this stuff was just following a sound that I liked straight off the bat recording, and if you took all the plugins off, this song would sound very similar. And a lot of it was just mixing to make sure that the different elements worked together rather than make a sound through plugins. And I as much as the next producer, I like making sounds from different plugins, but for this song, I knew that I didn't want to fix anything in post, so that piano part became this. Well, nobody knows. Does anyone care? So I immediately started writing. All these words were coming to my head, and I'm I knew I had to finish this song. We had 2 weeks before I had to hand in the album, and it was a crazy, chaotic time. And the whole song is basically a build-up, right? We're building up to this really climactic part. When it gets to the chorus, just the piano and the bass comes in, and the harmony comes in. I need to be flawless. I need to be clean. They can't notice all the things I have backstage. Cutting in little bits of elements as the song builds up. That's a big part of my style as a producer. It's just adding in little bits and pieces as the sections go along. And then we do a full turn and it goes into this drum beat right here. It's this really tight groove that you hear a lot in my music. But I wanted the feeling of slowing down, so we half time the chorus to sound like this. If you're wondering, this is just a Logic drum kit. Nothing crazy. I put compression on it just to make it stick, and a couple of these samples, these snare sample, crash samples. These actually sound horrible on their own, but when you put them together, they actually don't sound that bad. You know, it's not that bad. The piano and the verses are going kind of like this. It's tension. I love playing with tension and release. Sudden quiet parts, sudden loud parts. That's a lot of the stuff you're gonna hear in my live shows and stuff that I really like to model after. That's what a lot playing live has taught me. And then when it comes to the chorus, distorted guitar with a lot of reverb and delay. This stuff was just 2 guitars doubled. Another thing about my production that I do a lot, sometimes I don't double something exactly. Sometimes it's cool to have that, vocal doubles. I built a castle on a hill of sand. I built a castle on a hill of sand. That's 3 vocals doubled. The bottom 2 here are panned, and they're doing the exact same thing. But when it comes to guitars, I really like to have movement, which means sometimes I don't play the exact same thing, right? You can hear there's a lot more going on in the right. I don't know how well the audio is coming through this screen recording, but now if we unsolo the other elements, we're building into this lush, half-timed, open flowing section, which is right here. So I was really proud of how that was mixed. Just like getting that all these different like massive elements to work together. But one thing that really changed the game was when I was like, okay, this is kind of a theater-ish song, right? So let's bring in some strings. And Gaven arranged some really cool strings, but we had our great friend Kenji Golden come in to play some strings. He attacked those parts, and the first part that we kind of did was this verse part where it's like really tense, but there's some different really cool parts that make it like release, and it's this part. Like we're building up, so that tension's there. Here's the release. And it breaks out into the chorus like this. And suddenly we're floating. I love looking for that feeling. I'm gonna make a lot more videos on the other songs I made for this record. A lot of it is just like finding that tension, releasing it into like a floating thing. And then Gavin had a great idea of putting hits into the bridge or like chaotic solo section. So that was all him arranging those strings, and then Kenji came in and just attacked the parts and just played them perfectly. And I put some room reverb on it, some compression, and nothing crazy. Again, if you take out all the plugins here, you get the song still. Like a lot of this stuff was, you know, just going for our instinct and instinctual sound. I really wasn't changing the sound a whole lot. This bass is just my bass going into an HX stomp. Same thing with the guitars, they were all going directly, and I committed to the sounds before I even put them in. But yeah, these strings were really nice, and the whole idea of the song was to build up to a really, really big climax and then bring it down super abruptly, because the whole concept of the album was just talking about the life of a creative, the life of an artist. And sometimes you have those days when you're just like super on a high, right? After a show or after whatever, and then the next day you feel like you're a nobody, right? So I wanted to have that high feeling and suddenly just break it out.
I'm everything but clean, and I take all my things and I backstage.
So yeah, I think the hardest part of the song was really trying not to overthink it, and I think I did ultimately succeed in that regard. Like, there's only like 3 mixes of this song, and it's only because it was a rough mix. It was a mix to show people, and then there was a mix where we added strings, and then maybe like one more where I like cleaned things up for like final thing. But honestly, like, I mixed a lot of the other songs a lot more, and this one I just love how fresh it feels, and it still feels fresh to me just because we didn't work on it that much. There's a lot of hidden elements in here that make the song, you know, in every single section thicker. Like, for example, the Jacob Collier came out with a plugin with native instruments and Contact, that's just a choir that he recorded in different countries, and it sounds like this. Just adds another layer of texture. One of my favorite parts of this production, honestly, it was just like, I was just following my instinct. This should go here, this should go here. I was really not going for a specific thing. I was just going with it. And I loved the end result of me just messing around, but there were also some more planned parts like these strings, right? But these all contributed to the kind of like franticness of the song, especially in this section, and it kind of just explodes out into a really cool section. I loved how it turned out. I love the song a lot, and I hope you'll go listen to it. Thanks for watching this video, and let me know which song you want me to make a video on. We've made a couple already, but I'm open to making videos about any of the songs. And thanks for supporting me and my music. Links below for all that stuff. We'll see you soon.